Good evening. Today is November 12th, 2024 to 7 p.m. We're in the Township Hall. Agenda items this evening for the Zoning Commission are ZC case 2024-04, ASMRE Holdings LLC, first meeting, potential zoning resolution amendment discussion. Staff present this evening, Joe Schaefer, Director of Development and Zoning, and Paul Benson, Deputy Zoning Inspector. Roll.
Roll call, Mr. Bernhardt.
Present.
Mr. James.
Here.
Mr. Leff.
Here.
Mr. Teichman.
Present.
Mr. Welch.
Here.
I know Mr. Graver's here as well. Mr. Wester did inform me he'd be unable to attend this evening.
Statement of policy, this meeting may be recorded. Such recordings are public record, may be posted online, and could be subject to review in court. As is the adopted policy of the Zoning Commission, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience may then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by the applicant's response and questions from the commission. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate and reserves the following rights: to limit comments to items on the agenda, to limit public comment to 5 minutes per person, to restrict the number of times a member of the public is permitted to speak, and to enact any other reasonable ad hoc protocols or measures necessary to maintain a fair, safe, and orderly meeting. This policy was adopted by the commission to provide for the respectful, constructive, and efficient discussion of business scheduled for consideration and to allow for proper due process as required by law. First item up is meeting minutes. Motion, discussion.
I wasn't here, so I don't want to necessarily make the motion.
Yep.
Motion accept.
No, you gotta make a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the October 15, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
As presented. We'll have a second.
I second.
Second, discussion. Roll.
Mr. Bernhardt.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Mr. Teichman.
Yes.
Mr. Welch.
I'll abstain.
Mr. Leff.
Yes. Meetings minutes are accepted. Time is now 7:02 p.m. ASMRE Holdings LLC requesting approval to rezone approximately 25.79 acres located at 4461 and 4485 South Old 3C Highway, parcel numbers 31713001002004, 31713001002003, and 31713001002002 from Planned Residential District PRD to Rural Residential RR, land formerly known as the Nest at Hoover, zoning case number 2024-04. All those speaking on behalf of this, please rise and be sworn in. If you're going to speak, make comments, anything regarding this, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, be seated. The following exhibits were either updated or added. They are A through H. A is the legal notice, B is the affidavit of advertisement, C, the sign-in sheet, D, the application and plans originally received on October 7th of 2024. Exhibit E, the DCRPC recommendation made on October 24th of 2024. Exhibit F, the staff technical review dated November 5, 2024 for the November 12, 2024 meeting. G, the staff memo dated November 5, 2024 for November 12, 2024. And H, all public comments received between October 7th, 2024 and November 12th of 2024. Mr. Schaefer, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Relatively speaking, there isn't a ton to discuss on this one. In terms of the staff report, the legal description basically says it all. Rezoning from PRD back to rural residential, the zoning designation that existed on this property prior to June of 2019. Currently 3 parcels covering 2 addresses on South Old 3C Highway. So I will go through a little bit of history just for the record. So rezoning from rural residential to PRD for the Hawks Nest at Hoover proposal was approved by the trustees on June 3rd, 2019. Preliminary subdivision plans for that plan were approved by the County Regional Planning on May 28th of 2020. Final development plan approval was granted by the trustees on June 18th, 2020. The plan expired per terms of the zoning resolution. In June of 2023, it was granted a 1-year extension by the trustees. Then the plan again expired in June of this year, and at that point, the applicant informed me that they would not be asking for another extension. It's my understanding that the development unfortunately is no longer feasible for them to do this. Obviously, conditions in the world have changed a lot since June of 2019. So they're now coming before you to revert the zoning classification back to what it was, as I noted, the rural residential zoning classification. So again, just to be clear, this isn't an application for a development plan or a site plan. We don't even have any site plans for this. They are just merely seeking to change the zoning classification from one district to another. When people rezone to a straight district, we don't require site plans, and usually I advise them not to submit them because they're not binding as part of a straight district rezoning. And I would never want to confuse the public that some idea sketch that they see on a screen is what's going to happen there. So I would never want to misdirect anyone like that. So that's why you don't have a site plan in front of you. It's not required, and it's usually not advised because they can be misleading. So if this was to be approved, they would be permitted to, subdivide the property further pursuant to the dimensional regulations set forth for the rural residential district, which is 2-acre minimum lot size, 150 foot of frontage for non-flag lots, 60 foot of frontage for flag lots, stuff like that. There's a lot of other detail on sort of how the subdivision process works. I put in the memo just sort of for reference, but I'm going to sort of skip over that unless we need to talk about it. Site's not serviced by sanitary sewer. In terms of comprehensive plan review, the subject parcels are located in planning area 5. For lots without sanitary sewer in this area, the plan recommends single-family residential uses on lots of 2 acres or greater in the rural residential zoning district. The proposed rezoning is in line with this recommendation. Delaware County Regional Planning Commission recommended approval of the subject request during the regular meeting on October 24th. My technical review is attached. There's only one comment, and it's really not terribly of consequence, just that the drawings be updated to show that the cabin that you see on Exhibit B3 be shown on Exhibit B2, and there's also an accessory building that needs to be shown. I just want the drawings to match for the sake of accuracy. If the property weren't rezoned, or if this request were to be denied, it would remain zoned planned residential. However, since the approved development plan has expired, any efforts to develop the property further, at least the portion zoned PRD, would require a new final development plan be approved by the township. Such an application would be subject to the comp plan and zoning resolution in effect at the time of the application, most likely. Unlike development plans, rezonings don't expire if approved. The rezoning of this property would be more or less permanent unless the applicant or a subsequent property owner in the future who bought the property came back and asked to do something else. So unlike development plans, the rezonings don't expire. Rezoning the property would not impact the Hoover watershed overlay designation for the property. However, the request and any subsequent motion for approval per staff recommendation should probably be clear that the HOD would remain in effect if this request is approved. That's codified anyway in the zoning resolution, but probably wouldn't help to belt and suspender that topic just for the clarity of the record. So with that, Mr. Chairman, unless there's any questions, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. You guys can turn the mic on, and then name and address, and then however you'd like to present.
Pat Shively, 4461 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville.
Todd Ferris, Ferris Planning and Design, 4876 Cemetery Road, Hilliard. Well, there's not a whole lot to add to this. As Pat was saying, this is actually a sad night because we spent so much time getting this done to begin with. It was not an easy process to get that done, but as Joe stated, that just the conditions don't make sense to move forward with developing this property. Just with the cost of utilities, housing, interest rates, you name it, has just made that not a worthwhile endeavor. So rezoning it back to the RR designation, which matches pretty much everything around it, makes the most sense for us at this point in time, moving forward.
As Todd said, this is a sad night because we worked hard and we had a lot of expectations, and then the economy kind of turned, and then we started figuring out what infrastructure was going to cost, and taking sewer from 6 feet deep to 26 feet deep it just got to the point where it was cost prohibitive, and we didn't want to have a development that our lots were so expensive and our houses were so expensive that it didn't develop. And, when we asked for the extension of 1 year, it was pretty explicit that that probably wouldn't be extended to get another year. So, and we respect that. And I just, I do want to say how the Genoa Township worked with us during that time. Mr. Schaefer and his staff, and it was tremendous experience. It's a sad day, but on the same hand, it will preserve the open space that the township is looking for, and we look forward to moving this forward.
With that, we'll do public comments. Anybody want to speak? Going once, going twice. All right, public comments closed. Comments from the commission? Questions?
I have no issue with it.
Okay.
I just have just a question out of curiosity. So you have the land zoned for a planned residential district, which is something that you went through a difficult and time-consuming process to undertake that. Is the land more valuable as just a rural residential district? Why not just keep it as it is and then potentially sell it down the road to another developer who might want to do it? I'm just curious.
So we had that opportunity.
Okay.
We own the cabin and we own the house. I had the opportunity to flip this to another house, another housing, builder. The builder wasn't the quality that we had. Todd and I, we got entitled to Nook. We basically did that process, and that's turned out to be a tremendous, for the township. So there's a certain standard there. The other thing is, like I said, the infrastructure cost, when we really started getting into it, we had to go from 6 feet deep to 26 feet deep, take it down to Tussock. And as you guys know, Vents, R&H basically developed that site. Because of the cost to go underneath 3C Highway and Tussock, that number is so big. And with the number of units you have, you just can't make it work. It was going to be $60,000, $70,000 a unit in addition to the infrastructure costs that we would have, in addition to the land. So it's one of those things where it never penciled out, there was just too much risk to go forward. Could I have flipped it to, Pulte or something like that? Absolutely, but again, the quality wouldn't have been there, and the neighbors, again, want to be respectful to them as well as the community. So it's a good question, but, it took a long time to walk away from all of our hard work and money, but I think it's in the best interest.
Thank you.
All right, so Joe, on the motion, do we need to say something then about the map, or the drawing the map?
Yeah, if you want to add that in, you might just have to write a note or add it in, and someone would make that motion.
Can you give me that phraseology again, please? Because I don't have your memo pulled up.
Number one on the top.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't want to break this.
Well, don't break it.
Okay.
I guess there's some sort of commentary that, with the understanding that this motion would not impact the existing Hoover watershed overlay zone designation.
So that and then the two drawings need to match with the,
Oh, yeah, I think Todd said they're working on the drawings now. I'm not even sure that really needs to be a
okay.
comment.
So, Mr. Chair, I would move to recommend approval of the following to the Genoa Township Board of Trustees: the subject zoning map amendment also known as rezoning application, including all materials submitted by ASMRE Holdings LLC to rezone approximately 25.79 acres of property located at 4461 and 4485 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio, 43082. Parcel numbers 317130010020004, 317130010020003, and 317130010020002 from Planned Residential District, PRD, to Rural Residential, RR, formerly known as Nested Hoover, Zoning Commission Case Number 2024-04, incorporating Exhibits A through H. This motion to recommend approval of the subject zoning map amendment application is based on the following findings of fact and conclusions. Said amendment is found to be consistent with the Genoa Township Comprehensive Plan pursuant to Section 108 of the Genoa Township Zoning Resolution, and also noting that this is in conformity with the existing Hoover overlay district. Thank
I
you.
have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second. Any discussion, questions, comments?
Nope.
Roll, Mr. Schaefer.
Mr. Bernert,
Yes.
Mr. James,
Yes.
Mr. Tysman,
Yes.
Mr. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes. Motion passes. The time is now 7:16 PM. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
That might be a record, Todd.
First record for you. That is a record for you,
quickest
Todd.
one.
That is a record.
I'm sure the first one was probably 16 hours.
Easy. All right. Zoning amendment. Comments? Anything from clean copy was good? Where we're at?
I mean, since Mr. Wheeland is here, I do want, since Mr. Wheeland is here, I can address one of the things that he recommended that maybe we could change, if that's okay with you guys.
So this is an open discussion with us at this point?
Yes.
So, yes. So what would you, if you have
So-
something you want to bring up?
I mean, I just read his potential changes. It was a change on the SR that we changed the lot sizes to.
Yes.
And Mr. Reland had the idea that they also should get wider because we basically, what we're gonna create now is all these narrow, deep lots. I mean, that might be okay for us. We could also potentially require a larger width, basically.
So what page do you want to go look at?
Whole SR, let me take a look.
Article 8.
SR, yeah.
Article 8.
Article 8 is SR, so. I'm gonna let
It's
you have it.
here,
It's
8.3, page 8.3.
Yeah, but that's-
So it's on 803.02.A.
80. Say that again, Sebastian. 80 what?
803.02.A.
0302. Okay.
Yeah, basically it says minimum lot frontage as 85 feet unless otherwise. Just if we could potentially make that wider, so it's more conform with the other change that we made with the lot size. Probably like bring it to 100 or something. The reason for it is just like, if you do let it stand in there, you probably will end up with people designing lots that will be 85 feet wide and just very long. They will have a very long yard. I mean, that's just something he brought up. I'm fine with widening that, but it's up to you guys if you want to do that too.
Well, before we do that, Mr. Schaefer, we're talking about, we've got a clean copy at this point. We've made our recommendations. The next step in this process is go back through this again, or are we just going to initiate so we can then accept comments and go through the process?
Really, at this point, it's totally up to you of just how you want to handle that topic. We could continue to refine the document and hold off on initiation for another meeting or two. Or we could initiate knowing that through the public hearing process, you still have opportunities at the conclusion of the public comment period and during your discussion, have me make additional changes before you vote on the final version that you want to pass under the trustees. So it's really up to your preference. I will say, trying to schedule a I guess I'll throw this out. If we initiate tonight, we have to schedule the public hearing within 30 days. With the holidays coming around, not that it can't be done, but things get a little, well, I guess it would just be on your agenda at the next, we'd probably just put on your agenda at the next meeting. So maybe that's not a big deal because we wouldn't have to schedule a
I'm not
special
going to do
meeting.
a special meeting for that.
I'm getting you guys confused with the trustees because the trustees were always having to schedule special meetings, but you guys would just have it on your regular agenda probably. I think we have enough.
Is there a lot of
Lead time.
other things on the agenda for next?
It's a good question. We did get an application today for Harris Automotive to expand, so that'll be a development plan amendment, not a rezoning. I thought we were gonna see one from Genoa Baptist for in their case, relatively small another development plan amendment, but it was just gonna be a storage building. But I thought we were gonna get it today, but we didn't, so I'm not sure if they're holding off for some reason or forgot the date it was due or what. So I sent them an email tonight saying, hey, what's going on? So definitely Harris, possibly Genoa Baptist if they come in tomorrow and say, hey, we forgot, can we get in slightly late? The Harris one is, relative to this site, it's gonna be it's a pretty significant change, so I don't know what there'll be to discuss. I mean, if it's a clean application, it might be fine, might not be a lot to discuss, especially since it's not a rezone, but I don't think it's gonna be as quick as what we just did tonight.
Nothing's that quick.
But then again, I don't know, we could get something in January that could be even bigger than Harris, so you never really know. And at least with the amendment hearings, you're the quote-unquote applicant, so those hearings we can go as many meetings as you want with those hearings until you're ready, so.
Does anybody have a preference?
With discussing this particular matter, or?
Anything. If we want to go through and make additional changes before we do the initiation, or we do the initiation and work through the public process and potentially make our own changes, then we would have a clean copy at the end, which we would then adopt and put forward to the trustees.
Chip?
I guess from my perspective, I don't see a reason to make any more additional changes amongst the zoning commission and then open it up for public comment and potentially make more changes. If we're gonna, whether the potential changes come from the public or the commission, we might as well just do it all in one fell swoop.
I'm fine with that. I don't know how many people will show up when they all know that there's gonna be a new document, and people can get sometimes upset about the whole new different document, so there might be a lot of people here next month.
Well, A, you never know how many are gonna show
Well,
up.
it's
Yeah.
true.
But B, I don't know that I would initiate it tonight to have a hearing at our December meeting. I think we need to reserve. My suggestion would be come in January. Potentially keep our agenda clean of any other things.
Well, I don't see how we would even approve anything in one meeting.
No, probably not.
It's going to go a few.
Yeah.
And like Joe said, it's our process, so
I mean, I guess we could initiate it
I
tonight.
think we
and then-
initiate it and then we start working on it through the public comment piece. All right, so now let's think about that. If we do that, are we going to work through, what's your opinion of just doing the whole thing and taking omnibus type recommendations? Or do we say chapters 1 through 10 again?
This is my suggestion. I think we open it up for obviously public comment, but we limit our time. I mean, we can, I don't want to, no offense to the public or anything, but I don't want to be here at midnight I think.
We'll put a hard stop on it.
What if we just say like, we close off at a certain time and then you can come next month because it's gonna be over, you know?
Yep.
My only question is if we also limit people to speaking for 5 minutes, some people might have to say a lot of things on the whole
Well,
document.
that's why I'm wondering if we want to limit it to certain chapters for certain meetings.
I don't think we necessarily limit it to certain chapters, but I think when we advertise, it would be helpful for the public to put their comments in writing so that we're not trying to listen, take notes, reference various sections of the code. If you can put your comments in writing, if you have specific detailed
Okay.
changes or whatnot, we could certainly talk about them, but having that in writing so that we can review it and absorb it.
Yeah, we can,
Do you have any recommendations you want to make there?
no, I think you guys are on the right track. I agree, it doesn't make sense to talk through changes and then get public comment and talk through more changes. We're probably at the point we can get the document out there and start getting the feedback from the public, and then we can all circle back and say, okay, is there anything else the commission wants to change based on what we're hearing or that has come up since we started the process? I can put that note in there about encouraging comments in writing in advance of the meeting. We tell people that anyway, when we get like inquiries about it, we'll always tell them, you know, if you can't make the meeting or you're worried about the time limit, it's usually putting them in writing is best. In advance, because I can send them all to you. And you can take your time to read them and come to the meeting, you know. How many people will get, comments will get, I don't know. You know, we've done these big omnibus ones before, and the room has been similar to the room this evening. The Hoover watershed overlay, on the other hand, because we were actually changing the zoning designation of people's properties, generated a lot more interest.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, you know, candidly, if you're pulling up the PDF and you see it's 440 pages of red line and you see a stack this big, you know, I tend to think, you know, a lot of people's eyes would glaze over, but it doesn't mean there might not be, you know, there's people though who pay attention to this stuff and we'll read it and, you know, we'll talk to people about it. So I'm not gonna say no one's gonna show up. We'll just have to see.
I sort of agree with Chip and Sebastian. I think that this should be a multiple month, you know, this will be hearing public discussion on the document during the month of January and February at these dates. If you can't make one, you can make the other. Please prepare your comments in writing beforehand to submit so we can be prepared. I think that's to give them multiple time slots.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can dictate or enforce, like, you can only speak about these particular articles. We can encourage that as part of the public comment, you know. Tonight's, we're hoping to just focus on these articles, but if someone goes off and starts talking about Article, you know, 20 on an Article 10 night, you're gonna have to just sort of let them speak, but I agree, it probably should be a multi-meeting process. If nothing else, even if we don't get a lot of attendance, you don't get a lot of public comment, probably just for the sake of all of us to just chunk through it like we did and digest it over the course of the meeting. Because there's, again, the board isn't asking me, hey, where is it? What's the timeline on this? They're not pushing. I think there was a push for the Hoover overlay to get that done and the density one to get that done. But this one, I think the board is not as, you know, concerned about pushing it through. They know there's a lot of stuff to do, but, you know, it's not as pressing of a urgent of a need as the density topic was.
Okay.
Ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
You wanna make that motion? Sure. Okay, go for it.
I'm coked up, ready to
All
go
right.
here. Coke Zero, by the way.
I was gonna say, you might want to clarify that.
Coke Zero. Mr. Chair, I would move to initiate amendments to the Genoa Township zoning resolution and official zoning map presented in one or more draft documents dated November 8th, 2024. Such amendments include, but are not necessarily limited to, creating, defining, modifying, organizing, and/or regulating multiple land use classifications and controls, including those considered conditional uses, improving definitions that are outdated, vague, or insufficient, detailing and expanding upon the township zoning authority as well as its intents and purposes for zoning law, consolidating and codifying current and best zoning practices, clarifying and revising standards that are considered general in nature and applicable to more than one zoning district, restructuring and reorganizing standards throughout the document to improve consistency and functionality, establishing rules for improvements currently not regulated, including new and emerging technology, altering, simplifying, and modernizing standards, including dimensional requirements, parking, and landscaping, addressing various topics related to enforcement concerns, adding flexibility to better respond to changes in trends and legal requirements, resolving inconsistencies and disparities throughout the document, incorporating a multitude of changes pertaining to various administrative matters, and correcting grammatical and/or typographical errors. We don't have any edits from tonight, so I don't believe we need to incorporate anything with that respect, correct? So the subject amendment shall be dated November 12th, 2024, and known as Zoning Commission Case Number 2024-05, Zoning Text and Map Amendment. I further move to schedule a public hearing for said amendment on Monday, I apologize, stand by, December 9th at 7 PM in the Genoa Township Hall.
And before we get a second, I'm sorry, we should have, in the text we provided you, I should have wrote, where it says, such amendments include, but are not necessarily limited to. I should have added in there, such amendments are omnibus in nature and include, but are not necessarily limited to. I'm sorry. So,
Mr. Chair, I would amend my motion to state that such amendments that are applying to the document are omnibus in nature.
thank you. Apologies.
You're welcome.
All right, we got a date, we got time here. Motion's on the table. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Roll.
Roll call, Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Teichman.
Yes.
Mr. Welch.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes. Motion passes at 7:32, so we will start that at the next meeting. General public comment. Anybody?
Rick Whelan, 9500 Britton Woods Drive, Galena. To the board. I sent you guys information back on May of this year regarding Section 8. You had a question from one of your members this evening about Section 8. Then you started talking about everything else and blew him off and didn't even respond to his questions about it. You guys have had all the months since then, Chip, to review that. You have no questions on it. You guys sent it to Joe, he puts it in the text with no changes. You want comments and stuff from people in the community. You want people to get their stuff in writing to you for this upcoming stuff that you're going to consider, but I've given you this writing back in May, and you did nothing with it. It's frustrating to me, seriously frustrating. And it's frustrating you didn't even listen to Sebastian tonight and follow through with his questions on it. None of you. He's the only one that asked any questions on any of this stuff. What are swimming pools? Are swimming pools an accessory building? I need an answer to that this evening in our zoning. There's no definition in our stuff for it. Why not? What are they considered? David, I'm asking you, can you tell me what swimming pools are?
I'll refer you to the definitions in our zoning.
We don't have it in there. Then it needs to be in our new zoning resolution. Another thing you guys are missing. I sent information out about the building heights on stuff. Those haven't been addressed. If they are, I think you guys seriously need to revisit them. For some reason, we don't seem to get the proper, I don't know, I'm just frustrated. I need to get more, these members need to be a little bit more involved in what's going on here, especially when you're getting information from myself back in March and April and May on this stuff. And now I'm coming back in at this point, and it still has not been addressed. And you're talking about a clean copy? You don't want to make any changes to stuff? It's ridiculous. You're going to have to hold meetings after meetings after meetings to get this stuff done correctly. Otherwise, get off the board and get somebody in here who will do it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Public comments closed.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to note, swimming pool is a defined term already in the zoning
Yes, it
resolution. We are
is.
seeking to modify it, but it is a defined term already.
I agree with that. It's in there. Along with a number of other things, so. All right, any other questions, comments? Anything else we need to consider for next month?
No, I think we've already done the schedule for next year, so we're wrapping up. I'll start tallying up meeting attendance for the fiscal office for them to issue the checks for your service. For anyone who was newly appointed this year, which I think is just Mr. James, we'll probably need Mr. Tysman, I'm sorry, a W-9 form for those of you who haven't gotten the checks previously. I think we have the rest of your information on file, so you might be getting an email from me or the fiscal office asking you just to fill that out so they can cut the check. No, but other than that, I've already noted the pending applications. The trustees, I think I told you at the last meeting, approved Olive Branch. So is there any other questions with the trustees or any other township operations?
Yeah, there's one thing that I actually forgot. We adjourned, well, how do you say that? We waited to appoint the chair formally.
Oh,
I think we
yes.
still need to do that at some point.
I know you made a motion to retain sort of the current,
Yeah.
I don't recall if we ever set a date or a deadline of when we were going to revisit the
I
topic.
think it was that all the members would be here.
Yeah, once we've filled the vacant position.
So I would move to reappoint Mr. Leff as chair of this commission.
I would second that.
Aye.
Do you want me to do a roll call vote?
Sebastian, you want to make any changes? No? Okay. Roll.
Roll call, Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Mr. Tysman.
Yes.
Mr. Welch.
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes, thank you.
And we will need one for vice chair.
Appoint Mr. Welch vice again. Need a second?
You moved there, second.
Anybody else? Roll.
Roll call, Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Mr. Tysman. Mr. Welch.
Yes.
Mr. Leff.
Yes. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
There, all right, official. Thank you, Sebastian, for bringing them back up.
Yes.
We did, that's been a long time. April, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
We probably,
anything-
oh, sorry. I probably also will be sending out reminders to those of you with expiring terms here soon, that if you're interested in being considered for a reappointment.
Who's up?
That's a good question. I do not recall off the top of my head. It's got to be one regular member and one alternate. That's how it's structured. So I'm not exactly sure whom, but
I'm 27.
This is 3 for you, right?
Yeah, mine is still 27.
Might be you.
I don't remember.
if I had to guess, I'd say Mr. Welch, but I don't know for certain. We'll look it up. I'll send you an email if you're impacted.
Yeah, because who took Sarah's?
Yes.
I
took Sarah's.
I took Sarah's.
So you were new last year.
I'm new this, 2024.
This is brand new year.
Brand new.
You took over Carter's.
There you go, Mr. Welch and Mr. Wester.
I don't know, I should probably write campaign checks.
I'll send you my W-9.
All right, anything else?
No.
Just for the record, I was not ignoring Sebastian's comment earlier about the 85-foot, potentially increasing that. I think the discussion that I thought was fairly clear up here was that rather than have discussions and change that, we would wait to hear public comment for that and then potentially revisit that, as well as other items on the zoning ordinance. I just want to make that clear for the record.
I agree with that. I think it was logical that we would do it next week, but I think if we do get comments from the public, we probably should address them.
Yes.
Definitely because these people do effort putting it forward.
Comments, yeah, we can do that. But I'm still in favor of, you get 5 minutes and then we can discuss it. But in
Yeah.
the comments, we're not having a back and forth.
But what do we do if next time we get, I don't know, 20 emails with a whole list of stuff? How are we going to address that?
Then if they're here in the room and you want to address a question to somebody, then we ask them to come up after public
Okay.
comment period and you can ask them that question.
Okay.
But during the 5-minute period, it's their comments for 5 minutes. If you want to bring them back up and ask them questions afterwards, then I'm fine with that, but 5 minutes is 5 minutes. that'd be my opinion of how we handle that.
Okay.
I think one thing that the public also needs to understand is all of their emails and all of their, whether it's email or by comments made here in an open meeting, is all part of the record. And so if somebody proposes that the front of every house be pink, just because we don't necessarily address it in a meeting, I mean, it's addressed when it's not adopted by the commission as part of the amendments to the zoning document. So, I mean, lack of action is also a response to a suggestion. And, I mean,
Correct. The commission always has, ultimately, it's up to you to determine which comments you're going to respond to and not respond to.
And we have done a phenomenal amount of work and a phenomenal job, the five of us plus the alternates, on going through this thing line by line, taking the recommendations of what external counsel has given us, what we've seen from other people, and even some of the recommendations from the public. So
I mean, I agree with
we've
Mr.
done a ton.
Theismann. I want to understand, and I want to talk about your rationale for widening. And I want to understand what the impact is necessarily of that.
Yes.
And in all honesty, I think one of the things that sometimes people forget is we don't have a whole lot of open land left. And so some of these issues, while they're in the zoning resolution for good reason, really are moot because you could never, you can't, unless somebody's going to bulldoze a large parcel, there's not a whole lot of bare ground left to work with.
You might see that in the future, that they will buy
Well,
huge properties and.
well, yeah, I mean, we
And-
see it here along Sunbury Road.
That's also
where-
why I addressed this SR, because an SR is probably the most likely to happen, because you don't need that much for an SR.
I mean, I still have, I was looking at it again today, I still have heartburn over the bed and breakfast issue. I wanted to, I want to ask some questions about that once we open it up back for comment and whatnot, but tonight was not the forum for that, because I think the public ought to be here to, if it triggers a question or a comment from the public, then let them throw their 2 cents in on it.
So one request to staff is if we can have a hard copy printed of the clean version.
Hard copy.
Hard copy. Everybody gets a hard copy, so that way we can make notes and we can write things down as we're going through. Flipping through electronically is fine, and then going back and forth between notes. And
Yeah, no, I
think as we work through this final one.
I get it,
Yes.
because I do
I
the
would
same
like to
thing.
flip pages and actually do that.
Okay. Yep, we can do that, no problem.
And front and back is fine,
Got it.
so
I don't-
don't waste the paper. All right, anything else to discuss tonight?
And I don't need a fancy binder, I mean, a binder clip
No,
is
binder
fine.
clip is perfectly fine.
Okay, we'll give you binders. We have some laying around, though.
We have tons of those, I think, right?
We have donated a lot of them actually to the school,
Good.
but usually the collection slowly starts to build up again, so we might find some.
Might find a few.
I use them for trial notebooks. They're expensive, I mean, good lord.
All right, next meeting is December the 9th at 7 PM here in the hall. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, go Browns, and move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is now adjourned, 7:44 PM.
Number 3.